Very nice. Not as nice as this though. Wait for it. Oh, can't see it. Let me just turn it on. 3,095 miles. We're averaging 33.5 miles per gallon. I've taken it on a few road trips, one to Philly and one to Carolina. Both of them were about 4 hours, and the car did great. I mean, one of them was just one person, the other one was with 3 other people in the car. Both times, the car averaged like 44.5 miles per gallon. I mean, shit's crazy. I do city driving to my work every day, so that's why the average is kind of low. And that's only been like, out of that 3,100 miles, I think maybe 1,000 of them, maybe 1,500 have been on the highway. So that's really where the gas mileage shines. I just want to do a quick test today to show you guys what the real world MPG is like. We'll do some city driving, and then we'll hop on the highway so you can see how the average changes. It is pretty flat where I live. The temperature is almost 80 degrees Fahrenheit today. About 78 is what the car is saying. So yeah, I figured I'd just take you guys around and you can see exactly what we're going to get. I'm gonna go ahead and reset the average right now. Take a little sip of my cold brew. Nothing like a nice midday coffee. I'm at Wegmans right now. I just picked up in that red bag, 23-pound turkey for old Thanksgiving. Let's pull on out of here. Ooh, bitch whipped that 4Runner right on in there, didn't she? All right. It's so quiet in this car. I feel like I'm in a luxury car. Just kind of roll around and enjoy the ride. I do have the XPEL heat reduction tint on here all the way around. It's like 35 or 45 on the side and 70 on the front. Can't really tell the difference, but it makes it very cool in here. Even with the sun, even when the sun is like beating down on me, you don't really feel the heat. Nice new Tacoma right there. So yeah, let's do a little bit of stop and go, city driving. We'll get an idea of what the MPG is gonna be for that. I'm expecting high 20s, mid to high 20s. Damn, this bus is getting it. Actually, don't sound too bad. Straight pipe one of those, man. So yeah, right now it's only saying 13, but we also just pulled out of a parking lot and are just cruising. Let's get our own little lane here. Yeah, I don't know, this car really likes, see, I'm at like 25% throttle. You put the pedal at 25% throttle and then you just hold it there, and the car will accelerate at 25%. I know that kind of sounds like duh, but in some German and American cars that I've driven, I'm telling you, man, it feels like you have to modulate the throttle with the engine RPMs. If that makes any sense. Like, you can't just like gas it and go all the way up, like push the paddle straight down. You kind of have to ease into the throttle and keep it proportional to how fast the engine is revving up. This car doesn't feel like that. It feels like you just put the gas pedal where you expect it to, you know, give you that acceleration level that you want, and then the engine and the car matches your choice of pedal position instead of, you know, feel like you're working against the engine. It's kind of hard to describe, but you can really feel it right off the bat. I don't know if it's all Japanese cars or if it's like a CVT thing or what. I know this thing has like 10 preset like speeds or like RPMs. Oh man, that car stinks. So maybe that's what it is. Even when you can lock into one speed, it just feels more smooth. Whereas if you try to, you know, do that throttling yourself, you can actually feel the difference in those RPMs changing, those speeds changing. Must just be like a programmed thing. Overall, I've been really enjoying the feel of this Corolla. It's extremely comfortable, extremely quiet. I was driving around the Civic for a little bit and I did not like it. It was super loud and it felt a little cheap. Like the interior is super nice and everybody talks about how nice the interior is, and how quality it feels and all, which it does, except when you start going. When you start going, you start hitting bumps and stuff, it creaks and rattles and you start pushing on stuff, and it just doesn't feel as good when you start to live with it and test the durability. Obviously brand new, it feels very nice, but this has really been doing the job for me. I love the interior, the simplicity, all the buttons, the knobs feel good. So here is a good example. We're in some stop and go doing 35 to 45, and the average is right at 28.2 right now. Obviously it's going to change pretty quickly since we're actively going, but yeah, not bad at all if you're in a tight city and you need a small car. Yeah, obviously those hybrids are going to do really, really well in the cities, but if you're owning a car long term, the only downside to those hybrids is when you got to replace that battery at, you know, 5 to 10 years, wherever in there it lands. I'm sure it depends on your environment. Yeah, that cost on replacing that hybrid battery is going to be so expensive. Surely that's going to eat into all that money you saved, you know, driving that hybrid for those 5 years or whatever. Maybe if you're just leasing the car, you're going to get rid of it soon, or, you know, not your expense to fix it, then sure, it's worth it. But I'm paying for this car and all the expenses, and if it breaks, I'm going to have to fix it. So, and also, I could probably fix most of the stuff on this car myself just because it's a regular 4-cylinder. Shouldn't be too bad or too complicated. Whereas that hybrid, if anything in that hybrid system breaks, I'm not going to be able to touch that thing. Nor do I. You know, that takes an extremely high skilled technician to work on that sort of high voltage environment. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I'm also bet that the supply of technicians that can work on those is probably less than, you know, the supply of technicians that can work on just regular combustion engines that don't have hybridized systems. So yeah, we're cruising along here. If you're stop and go in that 35 to 40 range, I mean, there it is, high 20s. Almost 30 on the dot. About a gallon and a half. And I imagine that will depend on how many lights we hit. If we don't hit too many lights, it'll probably just keep going up. And then the more lights we hit, it should go down. But I hit quite a few lights on my way to work, and like you saw, even before those road trips, that average was about 31. It was like 29 to 31, somewhere in there. And that's stop and go traffic every day for a short distance, which is like worst case scenario for a car. I mean, if you got some big V8 or like a good performance engine, you're not going to want to go you know, 2 to 5 miles every day, just barely heating up the car and, you know, not really getting the parts warm. If you got direct injection, it's just not a good scenario for a car. So my use case was very particular when I picked this one out, and it's been doing great. I did the break-in oil change about 500 miles ago, and I didn't see any contamination in the oil in terms of like shards and stuff. I'm sure there was some particles in there, you know, just from the break-in period, but it wasn't anything like metal shards on the magnetic drain plug, or, you know, material around the oil fill. $33 we're averaging right now in this stop and go. 30 to 45 environment. I mean, even pulling away from that, we're not really going down that much. Now I'm being generous with the throttle. Obviously, if I step on it, it's gonna go down a little bit, but I mean, I'm not even using the eco mode. That little indicator pops up to tell you you're driving economically, but I'm not in eco mode. I'm in normal. You can change that down in above the steering wheel, or above the shifter, and all it does is change the RPMs. Really, you'll see when I go back down to normal, drops quite a bit. Sport mode's okay in this car. I mean, it keeps the RPMs higher, so that's kind of nice if you're gonna drive sporty. But honestly, I find the car feels best in normal mode. It'll react if you push the gas hard enough, and you don't get the artificial weighting of the steering. The sport mode just kind of tightens it up a little too much. The car feels good in corners though. You should check out my video of me driving it on the back roads. It's a fun car, man. It's not fast, it's not really quick either, but it's fun for what it is. I mean, look at that, 34.6 miles per gallon in city driving. I mean, it's not quite exactly city, it's more like suburbs, but we're just in the city, and we did a lot of stop and go. We're sitting at a stoplight right now. Yeah, I've been really impressed with the gas mileage in the car. As you can see right there, 34.3 right now, 34.1. And we're back to the same average, 33.5. It's changing pretty quick because we're changing the speed, but I mean, that'll give you a good idea of all the numbers that it's floating around. High 20s, low 30s for stop and go. I'm gonna get out on an open road over here. It'll simulate a highway. I mean, it basically is a highway. It's 55, and it's more than 2 lanes, or 2 lanes. And it stays 55 the whole way. There's not that many stoplights, and they don't hit very often, so basically the same as a highway. When I took this thing to Philly, it was a 270-mile trip, and here, I'll step on it here to get past this guy. You can see what it's like to stress the engine a little bit. It doesn't pull super fast, but I mean, it gets up there. It gets out of its own way. I mean, that lady just tried to get up on me, and I had to speed up so I could get over. I mean, I'm sure you heard the engine, but it's not so much that you're like, I really don't want to push it anymore because I feel like it's braking. You can just hear the engine when you stress it, but I mean, what car do you press the accelerator like that and don't hear the engine, you know? Like, yes, some engines sound good. Yeah, I'm not really complaining about that though. You know, I didn't get this car because the engine sounds good. Got it because it's reliable as hell and comfortable, practical, small, hatchback, fits a lot of stuff. Yeah, I've been really enjoying this car. Where are we at? 32.6 right now. Not bad at all. We're just putzing around, stop and go. Let's get out on this 55 road up here, and I'll show you what the how that number goes up pretty quick once you get out on a 55 road. Like I was saying about that Philly trip, 270 miles there and back. I averaged 40, and now it's all highway because I went up the East Coast, and it's very flat, and there wasn't much traffic. So I mean, it was perfect case scenario. The weather was great, so I didn't use AC. But yeah, best case scenario, I was pulling 44.6 miles per gallon on that trip. That was great. I could get to Philly and almost like halfway back on the same tank of gas. I think the range was showing like 400 miles, give or take 5 or 10. That was fantastic. I spent, at the rate of gas, it was about $40 of gas, maybe, yeah, about $40 of gas for a trip to Philadelphia and back from the Hampton Roads area, Virginia. Over 500 miles. It's not bad at all. At that same rate of gas, you're talking $80 or less every 1,000 miles. I mean, you could get across the country. What is that, like 2,000 miles or something like that? Maybe a little more. So you're talking about less than $200 worth of gas to get across the country. I'm sure because of the elevation changes and it's not a direct route across and blah, 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 it wouldn't be exactly that, but I think you'd find this would be a great vehicle for something like that. If you're just one person, or you're just not a really big person. I think if you're just the driver and you're over 6 foot, you'll probably be fine. There's a lot of headspace in here with no sunroof. But if you've got 4 people that are over 6 feet tall, this might not be the car for you, just because the back seat is a little cramped. I really don't use my back seat, like, at all. I use it for stuff, and I'll fold the seats down and take that extra space. But I don't really carry people in the back seat. I have for that one road trip, and no one complained. We actually carried all of our stuff, 4 guys, and stuff for 4 days, all the way to the beach house and back, and it wasn't too bad at all. I averaged about 43 miles per gallon on that trip, maybe 42, and that was about 150 miles there and back with a car full of stuff and people. So now how would it do, you know, in the north with snow and stuff like that? Probably not that great. I mean, it is front wheel drive, but you put some good snow tires on here, it's got good weight to the car. It's about 3,200 pounds, so it's not like super light. I actually feel that would do fine in the snow. I mean, it's not going to be all-wheel drive WRX or something, but I would be interested to see the gas mileage change in a little bit more extreme environment. I mean, it gets really hot here in the summer, so I guess I can show you guys that in the summer to see what that's like. We're about to pull out on the 65 road, the 55 road, and show you guys the gas mileage then, and then we'll wrap this up. But I mean, shit, are you not entertained? 33 miles to the gallon so far in city driving. Stop and go. 35 to 45 miles an hour. And now we'll get that highway test. car just kind of cruising at 60 in flat ground, not much weight. As you can see, that green bar is like full, so I imagine that maxes out at like 50 miles per gallon. That's what I would guesstimate. So when it's like all the way full, I bet you're getting like 50 miles to the gallon. Because that road trip, it stayed pretty close to the top that whole time, and that was that 44.6 miles a gallon on that 500-mile trip. So yeah, I mean, look, it's just shooting up. It's already at 34. I'm gonna turn around and continue on the 55 road. So, I mean, this car cruises fine. I mean, as you can see, at 60 miles an hour, there wasn't a lot of road noise. I even have the roof rack on the top. I was thinking about getting the windshield, but I don't even hear any buffeting from it. So, yeah, I mean, almost 35 miles a gallon on this 55 road. I'm about to accelerate, so it's going to go down a little bit, but yeah. Like I was saying, that average was 33.5 and that 3,000 miles with not much highway driving. If you do a lot of highway driving, man, your average is going to be really high up there. But even if you're doing city driving, this car is small and nimble. It's great for a city. It's going to be reliable over a long term. And the gas mileage is still really good in the city. I mean, we were averaging low 30s. So that'll give you guys a better idea of what this car is like to live with in terms of gas mileage. And the maintenance costs are pretty low. Toyota says you can do the oil every 5,000 miles, and the oil for that, if you want to get it yourself, is about $80. So a little expensive, but I think that oil is decent. That 0W20, I believe it is, 0W20. It's really light stuff, man. I mean, it's like water when you're pouring it in there, but it really helps protect the engine on cold starts. That's where you get most of your wear and tear, is when the car is heating up. So for me, I don't drive the car very long distances. I do a lot of cold starts. It's been holding up great, and the gas mileage is kind of showing that. I bet the gas mileage will get a little bit better as I break in the engine a little bit more, and yeah, I mean, just really settle into the car, do some more highway driving. I'll probably be changing jobs here soon, so we'll see how much highway driving we do in the next one. But I mean, look at that. We just went from, in that short amount of time on that highway, we went from 32, 33, all the way up to 35.6. I mean, this thing's just cranking miles per gallon. So yeah, if you got any questions, or if you want to see the car in some different environments, let me know. I can simulate some really quick stop and go. I can go through the city, you know, for a full 20 minutes or so, or we can sit on the highway for an hour and see what that's like. Yeah, the numbers are pretty high either way, though. So if you were curious if the car gets good gas mileage, yeah, it does better than advertised. So, all right, that'll be it for today. You guys have a good rest of your day and stay safe out there.